so here's what we want to do. I want to hear from you what you felt as the practitioner. Did you perceive anything? If you didn't, no worries. If you did, great. Just want to hear about it, okay? So anybody want to share what it is that I'd like to hear from a lot of you, if not all of you. It doesn't have to be forever, long-winded, but I just want to hear some of the things that you felt, okay?
As a practitioner.
As a practitioner. Yeah.
One of the things that I felt was that I was feeling a lot of energy in my fingers, and I'm calling it energy, it was vibration. That's what I was feeling, and not immediately,
Okay.
but after we got started. And then as I was there, I also felt like my fingertips were kind of disappearing.
Okay.
But I will say that then you came and course corrected my person to hold my head differently, and I forgot. I was holding it the same way she was holding it.
Well, that's okay. It's all
Yes.
learning.
Okay.
So, but did you feel any? Okay, so that's what you felt in your hands. I'm asking you guys also what you felt from inside that.
Well, I felt like it was coming from that because if I shifted my attention in her, like I was shifting my attention, it was gone. It was gone, but as soon as I shifted back, it was back. So are you saying that was me? I mean, I felt like it was coming out of her.
I don't
And
know.
it was on the left side more than the right, and the top
Okay.
more than.
Who were you with? Who?
Tammy.
Okay. So Tammy, did you feel like she was coming into your head?
At times, and we were constantly, okay, back off, no, hold on, you're too far.
So when she asked you to back off, was it when you felt less vibration?
No, when she asked me to back off, which mostly I think you were, at the beginning you said back off, but then you were telling me, I feel like you're moving away, I was distracted.
I could feel her,
Going away.
Distraction.
And I was
Yeah.
momentarily distracted.
And she was aware of that.
And she was aware of that,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, you know what? Okay. I don't want to say anything about it. Okay. Somebody else. I'll say stuff about it later. Yes.
I was very aware of her pulse, her breathing, and something else that felt very similar to the pulse and breathing, but was not connected to either. A sort of up and down of the hands. It was very, very subtle.
Okay, so when you were aware of her pulse and her breathing, were you aware about it happening in her head or everywhere?
Sort of both. I could feel her breathing from her head moving up and down, and the
Oh.
pulse a little bit too. But but I think that the slight up and down was harder to feel and a lot deeper and more from inside the head.
Great. And you were partnered, okay, with Christy. Great, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
I felt sort of patterns of movement, like at times, there was this, I don't know, excursion, it's kind of an elliptical feeling,
Okay.
and it was this, and then at times I would feel like a lifting,
Okay.
and then a back down,
Okay.
and then a lifting, and a back down.
Was it
and
slow or was it,
it was slow, it was just a slow.
but the lifting also was slow?
Yeah, it was slow.
Okay.
It was a slow lift.
Okay.
And then there was like a settling, and then I could feel this ebb and flow.
Okay, great,
So.
great. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
I think I felt something similar when I was, but it wasn't the whole time. It was when I was able to back my energy out, like to a corner of the room, and then I was able to feel. It felt like there was just like kind of a pulsing in a wave of stuff going on, but it was different on both sides of the head. Like it was different on one side of the head than on the other.
Okay.
And I tried so hard to get it back, but I was tired, and so I probably felt that for like 5 minutes, and then I couldn't get it.
Okay, great, 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 yes.
I'll start with it was hard for me. I thought going into it, I was like, oh, I meditate every day. I work on somebody like one-on-one every day. I got this. It was hard for me to stay in the place that I needed to be, and when she was giving me feedback, it was on point. In the beginning, I was trying to like settle in, and you know, when I'm working on something, I'm usually giving,
Yes,
you know, more.
yes.
And that's kind of how it was. It was normal how I work with somebody. And she told me, she was like, it's too much. Like, your fingers are fine. I feel you too much. And I
Yes.
was like, okay. And I was like, where do I go? Like, even meditation wise, I kind of had to like poke myself in like the middle of my head, and it kind of like sent me back a little bit, and that felt better. And then I almost like Elastigirl arms, like pretend like I literally just like went straight back, and like my back was against the wall,
Mhm.
and my arms
Wow,
were still
interesting.
there.
Okay,
And she was like, wherever you are, it's perfect. Like it's perfect. Like that's the
Okay.
best it's felt.
Okay.
And when I was in that space, it was kind of towards the end, but I kind of lost the definition between my fingertips and her head. Like kind of just,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't
Okay.
tell what, I couldn't, it was just all felt one.
Mhm.
And then I told her it kind of sounded, I felt like it was like breathing.
Yes.
Almost. And then
Yes.
it was like one side, and it was kind of like this, and then it would like kind of change, and then I'd lose it.
Okay.
I'd lose it.
Okay,
And then I'd go through the same thing. I'd go to the back of my head first, and then I'm like, okay, the back of the room. I tried going out there, and she was like, it was too far. And I was like, okay, back of the room. And it was this constant, for me, it was hard.
So here's the thing is, we're just beginning.
Yes.
We are just beginning. You're just for the first time putting your hands on something this way.
Mhm.
So this is, it's a challenge. It is definitely a challenge. Okay, somebody else?
I will add on, you were talking about that kind of like breathing feeling, and as I was experiencing something similar, I was like, my hands are nowhere near actual, like we are not actually touching, and I'm literally just operating in kind of an energy space.
Right.
And I struggled with myself for a second, because I was like, do I try and dial it back in and get a little bit closer, and do I dare open my eyes to confirm what I think is happening here?
Right.
And then I was like, just
Be with it.
yep. And so I spent a fair amount of time not actually
Touching.
contacting.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you feel what was happening inside the head?
I don't know that I could articulate that, because I don't know is the answer
Okay.
to that question.
That's fine. That's fair. That's
But
fine.
like like I was kind of playing with the energy field, and
Yeah.
so like I was drawing out a little bit, and then like allowing to see like, can I get pulled back in?
Well, did
That's-
whoever was on the table for you also give you feedback about, was it okay for them?
I'm
sorry.
No, I think-
Feelings.
No,
And you guys are learning, so you-
But-
all the
Yeah,
experiences
yeah.
are valuable.
It felt good at the time, but I was just telling Jillian when we came back, I was over it Tuesday morning, and all of a sudden, I had this horrible wave of nausea
Okay.
that came over me, that I'm just like, I'm in the checkout line, I can't vomit here. But, I mean, and vertigo, which I hit my head a few years ago, and I experienced vertigo afterwards.
Okay.
And it's almost like the vertigo is back a little bit.
Okay.
It's not severe.
Okay.
It's just sort of a,
Okay.
like this and then pain.
Okay.
So,
Okay. 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 Duly noted.
sorry.
No.
No. And this,
Of course, all of us caretakers are gonna feel that way, but this is also part of this.
Yeah, we're
You know,
learning.
we're also gonna do another thing that'll help.
yes.
Okay.
I'm sure, we're gonna do this next. We don't have it, we have this organized so that by the time you leave on Sunday, you've had some integration, you've had other ways to sort of help you through what ends up happening and stuff like that, so we're not leaving you this way, okay? Okay, I'm gonna say about a lot of the stuff here. Go ahead, Tammy.
I had a weird combination of a lot of that. I kept asking her if I was pushing, because I kept feeling like I was squishing the grape.
Okay,
And every time that I would ask her, she kept telling me that it was perfect. Like
She
it,
was not squishing the grape.
okay,
and that's where I kept doing this. And then whenever she would tell me that I wasn't, then I would find that spot again. And I noticed I let my attention go, and she's like, "You just pulled back."
I felt
like in a
her
good
hands-
way you just pulled back,
No,
or?
like I
No,
felt like
like-
she was dragging her hands
Oh,
back
dragging
off
your
the
Ah.
hands
So
back.
I
That
brought,
is a common one.
I brought my attention back, and she was good. But then I kind of got that, I don't know if I'm touching or not. And when I actually looked, it felt like my fingers were actually inside of her skull cap.
Yes.
And I was barely touching because again, I was like, is the pressure okay? Because I felt like I was, and I wasn't. And after you fixed my hands, totally different sensation.
Good, okay. Yeah,
I could feel, I was with Amy, I could feel her head kind of flexing out to the side. a little
okay.
bit. But I had the weirdest thing, like I'm sitting here like in front of her, but I feel like I'm holding her like this, like I'm off to the side.
Interesting.
I open my eyes, I'm like, no, in front of her, but like,
Yeah, oh, yes. All that weird stuff happens.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. You're not crazy. It absolutely does happen.
Question, thanks to that. So, Kathy's head, I felt like it was here
Yeah,
instead of here.
that it was off to the side instead of down the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. Yes,
I feel like my experience wasn't similar to anybody so far.
okay, good,
Yeah, good.
good.
Like,
Good.
I feel like I felt less of the head and more of like the inside of
Oh,
her.
interesting.
So to me, it felt like, I don't really know how to describe this except for maybe like slime. So like, it was like, there's this big heavy part over here and then a drippy part over here. But it felt like this was only big and heavy because this was out of whack. And, but at the very beginning, but like as we were, I think both getting settled, it felt more slippery
Okay,
and like a sliding.
yes, okay. We'll talk about this. It totally makes sense, like absolutely totally makes sense. Okay, yeah,
We were with each other when she was saying like this part of my head felt heavy. When you said like, okay, we have a couple minutes left, I was counting down those seconds. My head, and it wasn't where her fingers were, but my head, I felt like, I think it was where my head was laying or something. I don't know how to describe it, but it was just like this intense
right,
pain. It
yes.
was in this pinpointed area, and then I was like, okay, should I tell her? And then I was feeling for each of her fingers, and I was like, her fingers aren't. That's not where the fingers are at, but it's hurting so bad. And I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
no,
just
you
gonna
should
sit
get
with
them to
it.
You
stop.
should get them
You
to
could
stop.
get them to
You need to
stop.
say.
Okay.
When
I
that
tried to
is
just sit with
blanketly, you have an
Everybody.
intense pain like that, you get your person to stop. Take their hands all the way off, okay? Yeah, she wasn't doing anything, which is not what I hear Caitlin saying. It's just that there was an energy or something going on that was actually producing some pain in her head. And when you're having that kind of pain, then you want that you tell your person to actually stop, okay? All right?
Right. I found it, because I'm just like very like high strung. I
Yes.
think there's a lot of,
no.
yeah, so I find it hard to ever just relax, like
Yeah,
ever.
ever.
And so even when I was on the table, I was just trying to concentrate on breathing, just trying to slow breathe down and not
Right.
think. So when I was doing the hold is kind of the same way I felt. Like I was just trying to concentrate on, not doing the squeezing the.
Don't squish the grape.
Right.
Yeah.
And it took me quite a while just to focus on my own breathing to like slow down and try to back
Good,
myself out. And then like the people said, like finally towards the end when I'd close my eyes and try to back out, I would feel like my hands were coming off. And then I'd open my eyes seeing that they were still
Yes,
connected. So I was kind of surprised, like, oh, they're still there, because I felt like I was
yes.
was pulling away.
Yes, that's common. Were you able to, and there's no wrong answer here, were you able at all to get past all of your own stuff and feel what was happening, anything in the head?
Not really, like finally towards the end a little bit, but I was so distracted because I just hear everything that's going on. And one point was something table, I couldn't help but laugh, somebody had snored. And I
Yes.
was very jealous because like, I'll sleep that fast like this. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
I need to learn that.
yeah, yeah,
Like, now that's relaxed.
yeah. I totally get it. I totally get it. All right, let's hear from somebody on that side of the room. Okay.
I had kind of the same, as he was saying, I was trying to get out of my own anxiety about it,
Okay,
and somebody walked by and was like, just relax, and I was like, okay, yeah, just relax. And I kept having the feeling like my hands were floating up,
okay,
and I think they really were, because I kept coming in contact with her ear, and
Oh,
then I'd
okay.
have to readjust and
Yes.
then come back down.
okay.
And it kept doing it, like, and I didn't feel like I was lifting, but it was just happening. And anything that I might have felt, I don't even really have words for it. It was more like colors in my head, and
Okay.
it's hard to even describe, like,
Okay,
I'm not sure that I for sure felt something, but if there was
Right.
something there, it
Right.
was just like colors and like, almost like static.
okay, okay.
I got that same thing of the lifting feeling
Yeah.
and thinking I was touching her ear. And,
Okay,
I did that and, you know, she had told me too much pressure and I had
Okay.
backed off and she said, too much pressure. I mean, I was off the head at that point, so I
Yes.
was like,
It was
okay, and in my, you know, in my head, I had already backed myself way, 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 way out. I mean, I was out of the parking lot, I was, you know, to the horizon, I just kept
You had to
backing up
keep
and
backing,
backing
yeah.
up. And, you know, my head, like I said, my hands were out, but then I would feel like I was touching her head at points and, you know, I opened my eyes to look and I'm like, I am not anywhere close to her head. You
right,
know, and she didn't tell me anymore. Once I finally backed way back in my head, I was like, okay, there's, you know, it's not, I'm not, you know, I'm not touching, and she then didn't say anything else about too much pressure or anything.
Okay.
It took a little bit to kind of get that,
mhm.
so I was glad you said 27 galaxies. 'Cause
Yes,
I was.
and, yes, because you had to go somewhere
Yeah,
close.
yes,
And,
yes.
but the other thing is during all of that, and I understand there was a lot going on, it took a lot. Could you feel anything going on in her head?
In the beginning, I felt, I mean, it was, and this is strange, the only way I can think to describe it is like fish swimming, like if you've ever had a bag,
Okay.
you know, you're taking fish
Right.
home from the
Oh,
pet
yes.
store, and they're bouncing off the
Right.
side of the bag.
Okay,
That's what I
Good.
felt in the beginning, and that's when I was going, okay, I gotta step back more.
Yeah.
I gotta keep going.
Right.
And finally, once I got to that point of, wow, I'm way out here, then it was like, oh, okay, it was a different feeling. It was just a, I don't know, it was almost like a little tingly kind of feeling, like
Okay.
energy.
Okay.
I don't know,
okay,
so.
okay, good, good.
I kind of